Hi everybody, thanks for coming. This is John the Other, obviously. I'd like to start by welcoming all the new students and prospective students at Canadian University this semester. In the coming weeks, you will attend one or more mandatory orientations to university and to life on campus. What I'm telling you today is not your official introduction to university. What I'm going to share with you in the next 10 minutes or so is unofficial. This is not included in what the university, the student government, or your professors share with you. The college or university is not a new country that you are visiting. It is not a mini nation state within Canada's borders. But for you, it may be useful to think of the campus and its administration in those terms. And I'm going to tell you why. You might notice the public messaging on campus pushing a narrative that female students live under constant threat from predatory sexuality, your toxic masculinity. You'll see posters and flyers instructing you that consent is of paramount importance. You'll be told that your female colleagues cannot consent if you force them to drink too much. You will be instructed not to drug your fellow students unconscious and told not to molest their passed-out bodies. You will be expected to go along with all of this on the basis that, of course, you are a predator and you actually need these specific instructions. But it would be a waste of your time and mine for me to just warn you that the next 2 to 4 years will include a constant torrent of demeaning insult heaped upon you. That is a mere inconvenience that you will adapt to, or you will leave college, depending on your level of tolerance for abuse. I will also not warn you of the Baroque seeking of consent you will be told to perform in your upcoming official orientation. What I will be telling you is that your university has a shiny new sexual misconduct policy. It's a policy you need to know about before you commit yourself financially to a course of study. Your parents might also want to know about it too. It is a truism of economics that anything you subsidize, you will get more of. Your university's new policy states that survivors, that's the word for people making complaints, survivors get some benefits for their claimed victimization. These benefits include relief from academic responsibilities, deadlines, and exams. They include student residence relocation or the provision of new or alternative housing. These benefits include class schedule changes. The benefits available to survivors include money, listed in the specific policy by the University of British Columbia as, quote, emergency funding. For example, a female student with an academic deadline or an impending exam, they can be relieved of these requirements so long as they make a report of their own sexual victimization. Of course, only a cynical and a jaded person would claim anyone would openly accuse another student just to gain academic advantage or housing or money. Well, fortunately for students who are in need of academic relief, housing, or money, complaints do not need to be made openly. Under the new policy, students are encouraged to make complaints anonymously or by having a third party make a report on their behalf, also anonymously. So, gentlemen, as you are sitting in your class, or in your campus orientation seminar, look to your left and right. Ask yourself if any of your fellow students might need more time on an assignment, or a new place to live, or some extra cash. Now you might think, this is not your concern. You're in university to get a degree, not to indulge in sexual hookups. Well, here is the definition of sexual misconduct from Policy 131 at the University of British Columbia. Sexual misconduct is any act or sexual act targeting an individual's sexuality, gender identity, or gender expression, whether the act is physical or psychological in nature, that is committed, threatened, or attempted against an individual without that individual's consent. Now, this definition seems to include any behavior, sexual or not, or any communication which notes a recipient's sexual identity, their sexuality, or their gender. But only an unreasonable person would read sexual misconduct into the normal behavior that this policy seems to encompass. Being asked out for coffee, for example, while it would technically fall inside this definition, is not something that a reasonable person would interpret as a hostile act. But you might notice in campus messaging a repetition of phrases such as rape culture, toxic masculinity, and most importantly, consent. It will soon become obvious you're being sold an idea that all interactions between men and women are victimizing to women. In fact, you will shortly be formally taught this idea in your upcoming official campus introduction. This is a fantasy featuring you in the role of predator, whether you consent to play that role or not. So the university's policy defines sexual misconduct in the broadest of terms, as we have seen. The policy then provides a set of incentives for reporting claims, incentives like preferred housing, academic relief, schedule rearrangement, as well as simple monetary payment. The policy also encourages anonymous and third-party filing of claims of violation, which leaves only the process you will be subjected to discuss here, should a report be made identifying you as an offender. Well, you will receive an email from your school's student union, and you will learn in that email that you've been reported for a sexual misconduct policy violation and that an investigation is underway. You will also be summoned to an interview as part of a student misconduct tribunal. The date will be roughly 2 weeks from the date of your email notification, and you will be required to answer your accusation in writing before your tribunal interview. Complicating this requirement is the fact that you will not be told or provided the actual text of your accusation. You will only be given a loose description of what it is you're accused of. So, without knowing the details of your accusation, you are to give your full version of events in writing to the tribunal in advance. You will also be restricted from some parts of the school campus. This might include the student administration building. If your accuser, whose name you do not necessarily know, is in one of your classes, you will be barred from attending that class as well. And if this negatively affects your education, your accumulated grade point average, or your ability to continue your education, that's too bad for you. Your student fees and tuition will not be refunded. You will also not be permitted to transfer your education to a different university unless you are first cleared of any potential wrongdoing. And if the police become involved and then find out that there was no offense, the university putting you on trial will take no notice of this proper legal outcome. Your trial by the school administration will continue. At your tribunal hearing, you will not be allowed a lawyer. Your accuser will not be present, and you will have no opportunity to question them. The tribunal is not a legal court, and so none of the protections of an accused person's civil rights apply. You will be allowed to have one person with you during your interview as emotional support. This person will not be permitted to speak during your tribunal. During your interview by the tribunal, you will probably be told most of the details of the accusations made against you. You will also probably be told the names of each of your accusers. During your questioning, or maybe after your questioning, you might be told that your answers can be subpoenaed by the actual criminal courts. You might also not be told this, but in either case, you will have given testimony which can be used against you with no legal advisement of your actual rights. The rules of university sex assault tribunals are purely administrative rules. They are not law. It is up to the individual conducting your interview how much information you are given, and you will not be given the text of your accusation, only the summary in the words of your interviewer. After you have been interrogated at your tribunal, you will be notified by email of the decision. To date, only a small percentage of students have gone through this process. This policy is based on the idea that the campus is a pervasive culture enabling and normalizing sexual assault. And starting from that belief, there remains much work to do to increase that small number of complaints processed through the system. At your official orientation to campus and university life, you will not be told any of this. You will only be told that you, as a male student, are a potential sexual predator and told the importance of seeking consent. If during your time as a student you do not show suitable self-abasement as a potential sexual predator, you may be forcefully reminded of today's orientation. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thank you to the people helping to support this channel through Patreon and or PayPal. And there are links to Patreon and PayPal in the low bar should you also want to help support the channel. Thanks a lot for your time, and as always, have a lovely, lovely day.